Okay, now we're going to start the fifth standard, and this is the last standard before semester, but it does take a while to get through. Properties of exponents. X to the fourth times x to the third. You're going to put x, and you need to find what power goes on the x. No, you don't take 4 times 3, okay? Because look, I'm going to prove why. There's 4 basic properties you got to know. X to the fourth means 4 factors of x multiplied together, and then times, and then x to the third is 3 factors of x multiplied together. So how many factors of x do you have there? I don't think it's 12. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. So that's the first property. When you're multiplying factors with exponents and it's the same base, 4x is called the base, you just add the powers. Now right here, no, you don't take 5 divided by 3. That's absurd. X to the fifth means I have 5 factors of x. I don't want to say absurd. I could see somebody doing that, but it's not right. Sorry for being rude. Okay. Now, when you have common factors on the numerator and denominator, you cancel the common factors. Now, how many factors do I have left? I have 2. So what operation can I perform with 5 and 3 to get 2? I think subtract. So I'm going to put 5 minus 3. I'm going to put up here a 4 plus 3, because you're not going to want to write this out. You need to know these properties. Okay, x to the second raised to the third. It's called a power to a power. Okay, I'm going to connect those. That should kind of give you a clue. Now I'm going to write x to the second 3 times, because the power outside the parentheses is 3. But then I'm going to break each x to the second down, so it's xx, xx, xx. How many factors of x did I end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of them. What's the operation you do with 2 and 3 to get 6? You multiply. Okay? And that's why I drew that rainbow. It's like a distribution. Okay? Distributed property 3 to 2. You're distributing 3 to 2 and it's 6. Now the last property is when you have a negative exponent. Okay? Here's what you do with the negative exponent. You need to make it a positive exponent, and what you can just do is simply put a 1 over the top of it, and the 6 now goes to a positive 6. Okay? 1 over x is 6. Now I'm going to start doing examples. The directions here say simplify, and it says simple. That means you got to just know the 4 basic properties. You write your base of 2 down. And then when I'm multiplying, I add the powers. 2 plus 3 is 5. Then find 2 to the 5th power on a calculator. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That means 5 2's multiplied together. 32. Now, you can also use this key here, this caret key, upside down V. You can go 2, hit the caret key, 5. 32. Okay, next one, you have a common base of 2, and when you're dividing, you subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4, so 2 to the power of 4. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. Again, you can get that answer a little quicker if you go 2, hit the upside down V, and then 4. Okay, now you got a base of 2. You distribute the exponents. 2 to the 8th. I'm just going to hit that key because that's a lot of 2's to multiply. 256. And then last but not least, when you have a negative power, I don't want to see any decimals in this assignment, okay? The whole thing. You put 1 over it, because if you just go 2 caret negative 3, I don't want to see that, okay? Then you can make your exponent positive, and then you can take 2 times 2 times 2. So 1/8 would be the answer. So those are your simple properties. Now, another basic property is when it's to the power of 0. You're like, that don't make any sense. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 1,000 to the power of 0 is 1. Negative 8 to the power of 0 is 1. So I think it's 1. Every time you have a 0 power, it's 1. All right, now we did this in Algebra 1, okay? This is simplify with complex expressions, okay? So you're going to need more than just knowing your simple properties. When it says complex, you're going to underline the expression if there's not a fraction line there. And you're going to make 3 lines. Now, do we have any bases in the problem? And by the way, number bases in the problem. By the way, these are not bases. These are exponents. Know the difference, these little numbers. I don't have any number bases. I just have a variable base of y on top. Just write it once. You don't need more than one of y letter. Now, ask yourself a question. Are the y's both on top? Are they both on bottom, or do you have some on top and some on bottom? I think they're all on the same side of the line I just drew. So we're going to put a plus sign there. And my first y is to the 3rd power, but it's in a parentheses. So I need to distribute 3 to 5, okay? And 3 times 5 is 15. So there's your first add-in right there. And the other y is to the 7th power. Okay, so I do my distribution, and then I know I'm multiplying, so I add 7. Okay, 15 plus 7 is 22. Now, do you have any negative? Did you end up with a negative exponent? No, you did not. So you don't need this second step. That's for dealing with negative exponents. And can you simplify y to the 22nd power? You can't, because you don't know what y is. So you're going to put y to the 22nd power, and that's the answer. Okay, my next one. You already see the dividing line. So you're going to make 3 of your own dividing lines. And do you have any number bases in the problem? Remember, those little numbers are exponents. You don't have any number bases, do you? So what letter bases do you have? First, look on top. What letter base do I have? I have M. Now, on bottom, what letter bases do I have? I have M again. Well, since I've already have an M on top, we're not going to put it again, okay? There's no need to do that. Just write a variable one time. Now, you got to figure out what exponent goes on the M that ends up with it. Now, as you can see, you got M's on top and bottom. When you have some on top and some on bottom, this is what you need to do. You're going to make a little expression, parentheses minus parentheses, because you're dividing, so it's the top minus the bottom. Now, you didn't have to do that here because you didn't have any y's on bottom. You just added them right here. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 7, 22. Okay, now what do you have for m's on top? -4. It's not in a parentheses, so it's a -4. And then there's 2 m's on bottom. So on bottom, I go 3 first. Then in that bottom parentheses, I plus -2. Now, and you're always going to plus within the parentheses. 3 plus -2 is 1. Then I take -4 minus 1, and I got -5. So that's how you're going to handle that. Okay, now, since you have a negative exponent right there, you need to move that m from the top to the bottom. And then the -5 turns into a 5. That's what you needed this, because you had a negative power. You put a 1 over it. Now, can you simplify m to the 5th? I don't think you can. So the answer is 1 over m to the 5th. Because I don't know what m is, so I can't simplify that exponent. Okay, next problem. Remember, underline the expression. Okay, now what do you have for big number bases here? Remember, this, and this are not bases. Those are exponents. But I have a -5 and a 4. So I put -5 times 4. If it's a negative base, put it in parentheses. Now, what do you have for letter bases? You have x, okay? But you just write x one time. All right, now we got to find apply an exponent to each of these bases. Now, if you're -5, if you don't see a direct exponent, you're going to put a 1. But since the 1's in parentheses, you need to distribute 1 to 2. And that's 2, 1 times 2. So you put a second power on the -5. Now, go to your 4. It's to the 1 first power, but it's not in parentheses, so I don't have to distribute. I just use the first power. Now for x, okay, you have 2 of them. You got more than one x. Are they all on the same side of the line? Or do you have some on top, some on bottom? No, I don't have anything on bottom, so I don't need to do what I'm doing here. Okay, I can just put a little plus sign there. And the first x, I distribute 3 to 2, which is 6. The second x, I put 3. And 6 plus 3 is 9. Now, did you end up with any negative exponents? That's not an exponent, that's a base. 2, 1, and 9 are all positive. We don't need to do that. Now, can I simplify any of these exponents? Yes, I can. Okay, I can simplify -5 to the second by taking -5 times itself. If you're going to use the caret key, you got to put it in parentheses. Okay, 25. And then 4 to the first is 4, and then x to the 9th. There you go. 25 times 4 is 100. Okay, 100 times x to the 9th power. Simplified. Okay, now my next problem. Now, you don't duplicate anything when doing this either, because you don't have like a plus sign anywhere or a minus sign. Okay, you might do some plussing and minusing, I don't say, but within the expression you don't see any pluses or minuses, so I don't duplicate anything like I have been before. Now, first off, you got 2 fraction lines, just extend it. Okay, so look at your variable, your number bases on top. First look on top. You have a 6 and a 2. Now for variable bases, you have an A and a B. Now look on the bottom. You don't have any number bases at all. You have an A, but we already wrote A on top. Don't write it again. You have B. We already wrote B on top. I don't need it to write it again. Okay, so I don't need to put anything on bottom at this point. Okay, now 6. 6 is to the first power. Since it's not in a parentheses, we don't distribute. We just put 1. Okay. 2 is to the first power. Since that is in parentheses, okay, we need to distribute 1 to 3. That's 3. Now your A, you got a bunch of A's. You got these on top and these on bottom. So when we have a mix of top and bottom, you want to set up this expression, top minus bottom. So the first A that I have on top is to the 4th power. Don't distribute it. We put a 4. Now when you're filling this out, remember to distribute if you have to. Now there's another A on top. I work from left to right. It's to the first, but that needs to be distributed. It's not actually to the first. It's 1 times 3, which is 3. So I add 3. Now I move to the bottom parentheses. To the first, don't need to distribute it. You write a 1 down, and then we plus. Remember, you're in the same parentheses. You're plussing. B is to the second, but only I need to distribute 2 to 3, okay, because that's in parentheses, and that's 6. Because that outside power belongs to everything in that parentheses. If there's already power on it, you distribute. 4 plus 3 is 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. Having a 0 is just like having a 1. We don't need a factor of 1 then. We just get that factor out. That's what we did for A. Now for B. Now as you can see, we have B's on top and on bottom. So we take top minus bottom when we have some on top, some on bottom. First B is to the 5th power. Then I get to another B. So I add to it because I'm still on top. 1 times 3 is 3. Then when I go to the bottom, I have B to the first. Plus, and this B to the second, remember, you got to distribute 2 to 3. That's 6. So 5 plus 3 is 8, and 1 plus 6 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. If it's a first power, you will put it, okay? Now, if any of these exponents end up negative, they didn't, so we don't need that. That's an NA, not applicable. So 6 to the first, I can simplify. That would be just 6. 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And b to the first, you can't simplify because you don't know what b is, but you can just write b if it's to the first. And then you need to multiply 6 by 8. You don't just leave that. These two factors need to be multiplied to be simplified. So 48 times b. All right, next problem. Okay, there's a line. Now on top, you have one number base, 3. Why don't you put that? Now on bottom, you have a number base of -2. You don't have -2 on top, so we got to put it on bottom. We also have a variable base of x. I haven't written that on top, so I need to write x on the bottom. Now exponents. You got a 1, so it's to the 1. And then -2, you take 1. 1 times -5 is -5. And then 1 times -5 is -5. All right, now, do you have negative exponents in here at all? You do, don't you? Okay, so we need to actually fill this out. This exponent there is positive, so you keep the 3 on the same side of the fraction line that it's already on. Down here we got a negative exponent, so it's on the bottom now. To make it positive, you move it to the top. But you don't, again, you keep it -2, and then you switch your exponent then to a +5. I have a negative exponent there. But now it's on bottom, so to make it positive, I move it to the top, and it goes 5. Okay, now I'm home free. The bottom's now empty. Okay, so 3 to the first is 3. You're going to use a caret key. Make sure you get the -2 in parentheses. It's not going to give you accurate answers if you don't with a negative base. So that's -32 times x to the 5th power. Now we need to multiply 3 by -32. It's -96 times x to the 5th. So again, we have negative exponents on bottom, those go on top. All right, next one. So, underline the expression. So on top, you got a bit number base of 3. And that's the only number base, and a variable base of x, variable base of y. I don't have anything on bottom at all. So 3 is to the 1. We don't distribute it. Keep it to the first. X -3, y 14. I don't need to do any distribution. There's no parentheses. Now, you do have some negative exponents. Is that one negative? It is not. It stays where it's at. That means keep it on the top. Is that negative? Yes, it is. So it needs to go to the other side so I can make that power a positive. And that's positive, so that stays where it's at. I don't move it to the bottom because then it'd have to become a negative. I don't want negative exponents. 3 to the first is 3, and then you can't simplify the factors that have bases as variables. Done. Okay, so we have 3 times x times y. Again, because the line's here, everything's above the line if the line doesn't appear. Okay, so 3 to the first, but that's in parentheses, so we take 1 times -4. X is to the third. Distribute, that's -12. -3 times -4 is +12. You got some negative exponents. That's a negative. So that goes from it's on top now. To make it positive, I go to the other side, the bottom. Base is, sorry, just circle the exponent. It's negative, goes to the bottom, 12 on top. 12, now it's positive 12. Y to the 12th, that's already a positive, so we don't move that, because if I move it, it's got to become a negative, okay? All right, 3 to the 4th is the only one of those I can simplify. 81. So it becomes 81 times x to the 12th power. All right, last example. Now look on top. You have a number base of 5. Variable bases, remember these little things are exponents. You don't write those down to start with. You have x and y. Now, I don't have any number bases at all. Now I have a variable base of x, but I already wrote that on top. I have a variable base of y, which I've already written on top. So there are no new bases on bottom. Okay, now let's figure out the exponents. 5 is to the 1. I take 1 times negative 3. That's negative 3, because I need to distribute. Now x, you got top and bottom x. So you want to go set up this x equals top minus bottom. Now there's only one x on, a single x on top. So I'd put a 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Then I go to the bottom. There's only a single x on bottom. I put negative 7. Now if I'm subtracting a negative, negative 3 minus negative 7, you're actually adding positive 7. Negative 3 plus positive 7 is 4. So x is to the 4th. Kind of weird how that works, but if you set this up, you'll be fine. Okay, now y. You also have y on top, and it's on bottom. Top minus bottom. T minus b. Okay, so the y on top's to the 7th, no distribution required. The bottom, you got negative 4, no distribution required. So I have 7 minus negative 4. 7 minus negative 4, I mean, you can put that in on a calculator, but you're really taking 7 plus 4 when you're minusing a negative, and that's 11. Okay, now you look at the exponents. That's a negative. You need to reciprocate it by moving it to the bottom, and the negative 3 turns positive. You don't put a 1 over it on these problems because you already have things that are going to go on top, so the 1's not necessary. That's a positive 4. Keep it where it's at. And that's a positive 11. So you keep it where it's at. You want positive exponents. Okay, you can simplify 5 to the 3rd, and that is going to be 125. All right, let me know if you're having a problem with that. Hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.